Thank you, Darshak. And this presentation is a sequel from the one I gave 8 years ago at this very conference. And the theme at that time, 8 years ago, was look at all these cool things that PowerPoint can do to enhance your presentation. And the theme today is look all these cool things that PowerPoint can do to enhance your presentation, but with a bonus. How do you do these things in the least number of steps? So today's presentation is all about enhancing our slides using the least amount of effort and steps possible. Okay? So why is this important? It's because we are today, the way we can obtain information is very visual. We are more likely to see information from a phone on the right side than from a text-heavy source on the left. So as teachers, we're often pressured to enhance our presentations to make it more interesting to students. And part of this is helped by publisher-provided materials, which has gotten much better over the years. But a lot has not changed. So I still believe that many people think that the main purpose of PowerPoint is to put as many words as possible onto a slide. Okay? And so if you have a slide like this with many words on it, there's not much space to put something else. So maybe they'll squeeze in a picture here and there. And this is what we're often used to seeing. So this is not anything unusual. This is perfectly normal. But the question is can we do very simple steps, 1 or 2 steps extra that just takes a few seconds to enhance these slides for the benefit of our students and our audience? Okay? So my goal today is not to overwhelm anyone with any complicated programming tools or programming coding, but instead to show how you can reduce the fixed costs of enhancing your slides. So most of the things that I'll be showing you today require just 1, 2, at most 3 steps. So it's just a few seconds. And we're going to be focusing on 4 key tools: embedding pictures and images, embedding AV, including podcasts and video, using animation, which I think is very underused in presentation but is extremely valuable, and lastly, as we saw with Jose's presentation, embedding interactive polling. So if these are done correctly, not only does it enhance the visual appeal of your slides, but also you never have to go to the podium because all your media is embedded in a way that you can control it with a click, allowing you to, as Jose was doing, walk around the room. So let's start with the easy one, visuals. Most of us use visuals. It's as easy as copying an image and posting it right into a slide. But the first question is, where should that image go? Okay, so this going back to this one slide, which I think is not the most effective slide because it contains so many words. And in fact, before we even talk about where to put the image, there has to be a discussion of what's more important in this slide, the image or the words. So first tip is maybe eliminate some of the words, because if the audience is spending 30 seconds to read what's on your screen, that's 30 seconds that they're not paying attention to you. Okay? And the students are actually writing down everything they're seeing on the slide, that's even more time that their attention is focused away from the speaker. So first step would be remove excess text and put more focus on the image. That image is a beautiful image, and in fact, one way to make a slide very visually appealing is to expand that image, perhaps even making it the entire background. And if the picture takes the entire background, the words can actually go on top of the image by inserting a text box on top of the image. So a slide like this may look something like this when you're done. And again, that just may take 1 or 2 extra steps to your slide. Now the question might be like, okay, you have this text box on top of your image. What happens if you can't see the words because of the image that makes the words harder to see? Well, what you can do is 2 steps. Right-click the text box, and that will open up this box here where you can see your options of changing the fill of the text box to a different color to create more contrast between the words and your image. So in this case, I chose yellow because I think it matches well with the picture. And on top of that, you can make the text box somewhat transparent. There's a toggle button that you can choose from 0% to 100%. You can make the text box completely filled in, or you can make it very transparent, where you can still see, like you see right now, a little bit of the image going through the text box. Okay, so these are all just a couple of easy tips to make slides much more visually enhanced. Okay, now, the second tool is audiovisual. This is if you want to embed things like video clips off of YouTube or podcasts that you may have downloaded that you may want your students to discuss. I believe that this tool is arguably the best enhancement of PowerPoint in the past 10 years. Because when I gave this presentation 8 years ago, I was talking about how it required a number of steps to embed video and audio. In fact, you would have to obtain the source code from the video. The video would sit outside of the PowerPoint file. So if you are giving a presentation, you would have to have both the PowerPoint presentation as well as the video file, and they have to be in sync with each other. It was very onerous. In fact, it was sometimes so complicated that it would be easier to simply exit the PowerPoint slide, go to your computer, open up a browser, open up YouTube, show the slide, show the video, go back to PowerPoint, and restart it. Okay? Today, that has all changed. Okay? Whenever you open a PowerPoint slide like this, it's just 2 steps. Click on Insert, click on the video or audio. Okay? That opens up your file box. You can choose anything off of your computer or online, and the video appears. Okay? So this is a video I want to share with you. This was a couple years ago. The previous marketing director, Tom, who used to organize these econ events. So Tom and I went to South Africa. I love cats, and cats love me, cats of any size. So we decided to go to a lion park. And once you have a video into your slide, there's another box that pops up on the top called Video Tools. And the first option is whether or not you want the video to play automatically when you get into this slide, or would you like to have it pause until you control it with a click. Okay, so obviously I chose the latter option because obviously if not, the video would already be playing. But this way you can either stop it so you can discuss what you're going to show to your class and then show it, or if you're ready to show it right away, that gives you that option to do so. The second technique, which is also very important, is the trim tool. Okay, you can actually trim videos so that if you have a long video and you want to start it in the middle, you no longer have to search for it in the middle of your presentation. It goes right to that point. So clicking the trim video opens up this box. And as you can see, this video is 12 seconds in length. And I decided to slide that green bar to the 6-second mark so that it starts exactly at that point. And the red mark, the end mark, I decided to let it run to the end of the clip. So I turned a 12-second video into a 6-second video, and it will play immediately without any further work. Okay, so I'm going to now show you this 6-second video.
Yeah. Nice.
Okay. So a couple of tips here that fortunately I did not lose an arm. But if I would have lost an arm, that would be a good time to use that trim video to stop the video before the blood starts spewing everywhere. And also another reason why this video actually ended right here, because the camera person who was the ranger had to jump in and rescue me, because Tom was thinking to himself, okay, I'm next, and if Eric's the appetizer, I must be the main course. So I'll let you use your imagination what happened to Tom, because he's no longer here with us. So to download YouTube videos, I use an add-on, which is very simple. Although I use primarily Chrome as my browser, I believe Firefox actually has a fantastic add-on tool. And so what you're seeing here is Firefox's browser. You would click on the tools, and on the add-ons, you can look for YouTube downloaders. And this was from my computer. You can see that I have 2 add-ons here. I had an add-on for an ad block software as well as the YouTube downloader. And this is a one-time installation, okay, just a few seconds. When you have this loaded onto your browser, any time that you are watching a video, a download button will appear right there, allowing you to select which format you want. Do you want it high definition, where you can see it's going to be 118 megabytes? Not recommended if you're going to be sharing your presentation, a lot. You may want to go with a smaller file like the MP4, which is 36 megabytes. So you can choose what format you want, what resolution, and that fully will allow you to download it and fully embed it within your presentation. Now, sometimes videos cannot be downloaded, especially if you're not on YouTube or you're on other sites. In this case, what you may want to consider is a screen capture software. There's mobile screen capture softwares. For example, if you have a relatively newer iPhone, I think iPhone 7 or higher, it's already a feature in your phone. You can turn on the screen recording feature, and anything that you're watching on your phone can be recorded into a file, video and audio. The same thing can be done on your desktop. Okay? My favorite software is Screencast-O-Matic. Free software. It's maybe a $10 charge to remove the ads. But this allows you to capture anything that you see on your computer and save it as a file. Okay? You just have to be a little careful regarding copyright rules sometimes, but my understanding is if it's for the purpose of teaching, oftentimes that's not a concern as long as you are doing it for teaching purposes. But again, this allows you a chance to download the file and have it fully embedded into your PowerPoint presentation. Okay, now third tool today is one of my favorites. This is PowerPoint animation. The best demonstration of PowerPoint animation is this presentation. Okay, because every one of my slides, I only have 24 slides in this entire presentation, but each slide has multiple sequence of elements that are coming into view. So this is all controlled through your animation functions, the animation tool. Now, this is also this is the tool that seems that most people are hesitant to use, because when you think about animation in PowerPoint, often what you see are very cute and fancy ways to make words twirl and pictures come out and make noises. For example, you might see pictures, you might see introductions like bouncing up and down, you'll see twirling, and oftentimes these become very silly. Right? So it can get too much as well. So when you're thinking about animation, this is not the best use of animation. It's not just making things bounce up and down and trying to make things as fancy as possible. Instead, animation is all about sequencing. What order do you want things to appear on your slide? And in economics, there's no more important situation to show sequencing than building economic models. Okay? Because when we teach economic models in class, we teach things step by step. In a book, it's very difficult to show things step by step. If you have a 5-step process to show a model, in a book you would need to have 5 separate graphs to show panel 1, panel A, panel B, panel C. This is one of the best advantages of PowerPoint. PowerPoint allows you to replicate exactly what you do in class by using the animation feature. So for example, you can draw graphs in PowerPoint. It will label them. It will shift graphs just like you would see in class. Okay? And this is all done through the animation feature. Once you get used to doing these things, it becomes a lot of fun, and it doesn't take much time. It's a great way to provide slides to your students so they can refresh their material from class and do it in a way that really replicates what you did in class by showing things step by step. Okay? So now, let's look at back to the functions now. The first step to using animation, especially if you're building a model, is to put the model into the slide. Okay, this is probably the hardest part because you would have to draw the graph yourself into the slide unless you borrow something else. And there is a lot of slides that you can borrow. My own PowerPoints, for example, which are readily available, has a lot of these already drawn out, so you can just copy and paste it into another slide. And then you can animate each part of the slide. Okay? That's from the drawing tools, just clicking the animation. You can click the appear and fade button. These are most common. There's also the wipe button, which is to draw lines, for example. And one of the most important, at least for economics, is the motion path. The motion path allows you to shift curves from one position to another. You can see from the demand curve there is a motion path that starts with a green arrow and ends with a red arrow. That's what you set with the motion path to show where that curve is going to shift when you click the button. Okay? Also, once you have created all the animations, the animation pane is what you do to review all of your steps. Okay? So this is the sequence. In this case, this slide has 5 elements, and each one is going to play based on your choice. Do you want it to activate each element based on the click, which some of my slides are, or would you like it to activate automatically Because, for example, if you're drawing a demand curve, you want the demand curve to be labeled. Okay? You don't want to have to make an extra click for the D label to appear. You just want it to appear with the drawing the graph. So certain animation steps are automatic. You can set it that way. Some of them you can pause it and wait for the click. Sometimes you can have models that are very complicated. If you have a very complex model, this one may has 20 steps along the way, but keep in mind that every one of these steps just takes seconds to do. It's just 2 clicks. It's clicking add animation. What type of animation do you want to appear? It's done. Okay? And so the entire process of creating a graph may be, even if it takes 20 steps, it could just take minutes to do. Here's another couple of examples of where animation could be very effective in your class. I knew that earlier presentations have shown like pages of textbooks or newspaper articles, for example. Obviously, like this, if you're showing a mission statement, you don't want students to read every part of it. You may want to focus on a certain part of it. This is what animation does, right? You can actually highlight 1 or 2 key things and actually bring it up to the forefront where students are not distracted by the entire original page, but actually focus on what's actually important within that, that page. Here's another slide. I always show this before each class. Just turn off your phones. So that's created through animation as well. It's simply a slide with just a clip art placed on top of it. All right. And finally, we're going to talk about PowerPoint polling. And I'm very glad to have followed Jose on this because I'm glad that iClicker is here as well. iClicker has made it extremely easy to embed polls within slides. In fact, the way iClicker works is it sits on top of anything you want to use. It sits on top of PowerPoint. It sits on top of Excel sheets. And so if you have a question, for example, like this is a question that I asked many people based on this presentation, what PowerPoint features do you typically use? If I were going to ask this with the iClicker, when it started, the banner starts on top showing that, okay, the timer is going, how many people have responded. And then once you are finished with the poll, you can show the results all through a click without ever having to leave your presentation. That's the beauty of iClicker. But there are also other programs out there. There's many programs, actually, and I've tried a number of them. And some of them are a little more complicated than others, but the advantage of using perhaps some of the other programs is that you can actually fully embed polls into your slides. Okay? So one example would be, for example, this is a Poll Everywhere program. In this case, once you advance this slide, the poll activates within the slide. Okay? So it's a live slide. As people are responding to the slide, the bars are constantly changing, and you never left your presentation. You're still within the slide. Okay? So the advantage of this versus the previous situation is it may be more visually appealing to have it fully embedded in the slide, but the disadvantage is that it does require you to set up your poll in a separate software. Okay? You have to set up on a separate software, download that slide, and then insert that slide into your presentation. So it takes, again, 3 steps, but 3 longer steps. But if that's what you want to do, it also allows you that option of fully embedding your polls within the slide. Okay? So to conclude, I must say that none of the techniques that I've talked about today are new. They've been around for a long time. But I truly believe that there's a hesitation out there to incorporate more of these tools into your presentations because of the belief that all of this takes too much time. Okay? What I'm hoping to have convinced you today is many of these things do not take much time. They're a matter of understanding a few essential steps, but it really makes your students appreciate the fact that you're working hard to make the visuals much more engaging and conducive to the learning process. And above all, if you do it right, again, you can walk around the classroom like Jose was doing. I've never had to go back to the computer because everything is controlled through your remote, allowing you to take advantage of active learning. So thank you very much.